Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about a guy whose impact, well, it went way beyond the ring. Hulk Hogan.
Okay, let's just jump right in with this quote. If the WWF belt is a Honda, the IWGP belt is a Rolls-Royce. Whoa, that's Hogan himself talking in '93. And what it tells you is there's this whole other side to his career that a lot of people just don't remember. A side that was built on respect for the super hard-hitting style of Japanese wrestling. And that's a world that really shaped him way before Hulkamania started running wild.
And that really is the question, isn't it? How did this one guy become bigger than any title belt? To really get a handle on his immortal status, we're not going to just count up his wins and losses. No, we're going to look at the key moments, the turning points where he didn't just win a match, he completely changed the entire business. So, long before the red and yellow, before he was telling everyone to say their prayers and eat their vitamins, Hogan was out there building his foundation. He was becoming a legit threat in those super demanding rings over in Japan, and at the same time, a face people were starting to recognize in Hollywood. Yeah, his early success was really built on these two totally different pillars. On one hand, he was forging his credibility in the super tough world of New Japan Pro Wrestling, going toe-to-toe with absolute legends like Antonio Inoki. And then, at the same exact time, he pops up as Thunderlips in Rocky III, and boom, he's a mainstream star. And these two worlds, they just collided in 1983 when he won that prestigious IWGP tournament. It was proof he wasn't just some movie character. Nope, he was a legit, world-class powerhouse.
And you really have to appreciate this contrast to get why he became so huge. Over in Japan, he was Ichiban, right? Number one. He was this powerhouse in black tights, known for that brutal axe bomber finisher. But back in America, total opposite. He's the charismatic showman in red and yellow, famous for the Hulk up and that iconic leg drop. Being able to master two completely different personas at the same time, that's what really set the stage for him to become a global star.
Okay, so with his credibility locked down in Japan and his star power proven in Hollywood, all the pieces were right there on the board. Hogan was perfectly positioned for a total cultural takeover. I mean, the rocket was basically on the launch pad, just waiting for the countdown. January 23rd, 1984. Seriously, if you're a wrestling fan, you know this date. It's legendary. This is the day the entire landscape of American wrestling just completely shifted on its axis. And it all happened at Madison Square Garden, all centered around one guy. In a match that was over in less than 6 minutes, just 5 minutes and 40 seconds, Hulk Hogan pins the Iron Sheik and captures the WWF Championship. But this wasn't just another title change. No way. This was the coronation of a king. This was the launch of Vince McMahon's grand plan for national expansion, and Hogan, he was going to be the undeniable face of the whole thing. In that whole strategy, it all came to a head at the very first WrestleMania, which, you gotta remember, was so much more than just a wrestling show. The main event was this crazy collision of worlds. You had Hogan teaming up with the TV star Mr. T to take on the villains everyone hated, Piper and Orndorff. And the special guest referee? Oh, just Muhammad Ali. It was a complete pop culture spectacle, and it was all designed to bolt wrestling into the mainstream. And you know what? It absolutely worked. So for years, Hogan was the perfect hero, the good guy. But to stay on top, he had to do something nobody saw coming. I mean, the unthinkable. He had to basically destroy the character he'd spent a decade building. And that move was so shocking, it would ignite the single biggest boom period in the history of wrestling.
Think about it. He was the ultimate superhero. That red and yellow, it wasn't just a costume. It was like a uniform for goodness. An icon of inspiration for an entire generation of kids. Fans truly believed in him, and that belief powered the WWF for more than a decade.
And then, July 7th, 1996, he becomes the ultimate villain. At WCW's Bash at the Beach, the Outsiders had been promising this mysterious third man, and nobody, and I mean nobody, thought it would be him. So when Hogan walks out and then drops that leg on his supposed friend, Randy Savage, the hero died right there in that ring, and something new and way more dangerous was born. Look, this wasn't just a simple character change. It was an industry earthquake. First, you had the pure shock of it all, which was just off the charts. Then, the NWO, with their cool black and white, anti-establishment vibe, they made being a villain more popular than being a hero. And that directly ignited the Monday Night Ratings War, which pushed WCW ahead of the WWF. But maybe most importantly, it forced the entire industry to evolve into a grittier, more realistic, more adult-oriented product. Okay, so after the Monday Night Wars, the whole wrestling landscape had changed again. Hogan's role, it shifted. He wasn't the industry shaker anymore. Now he was a living legend, and his job was to create these unforgettable, once-in-a-lifetime moments by facing the new generation of superstars he'd inspired. I mean, this was the definition of a dream match. You had Hollywood Hogan, who was basically representing the past, the iconic 80s and the revolutionary 90s. And across the ring from him was The Rock, representing the future, the megastar of the Attitude Era who was just about to launch his own Hollywood career. Yeah, it was built up as this symbolic passing of the torch, but the electric reaction from that crowd that night, it proved one thing loud and clear. Hogan's legend was absolutely eternal.
Fast forward 3 years, and we get another one of these dream matches. This time, it's billed as legend versus icon. Hogan, the established, larger-than-life figure of wrestling history, against Shawn Michaels, who, let's be honest, is widely considered the greatest in-ring performer of his generation. And even in this bloody, hard-fought battle, Hogan proved his star power was still completely undeniable. He created yet another historic moment for the books.
So, when you put all of this together, what does it all add up to? Why is Hulk Hogan's legacy considered immortal? That's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but for him, it really, really fits.
You can really define his career by these 4 massive shifts. His victory in Japan, that earned him legitimacy. The birth of Hulkamania, that launched wrestling into a global phenomenon. The NWO heel turn, it reinvented not just him, but the entire industry. And finally, those icon versus icon matches, they cemented his legendary status by passing the torch. When you look back at the biggest turning points in modern wrestling history, he wasn't just there for them, he was the one right at the center, causing the shift.
So looking back at his entire career, it becomes pretty clear, doesn't it? For Hulk Hogan, the championship belts, they were just props. His true immortal legacy wasn't forged in gold. It was built in those unforgettable moments, the moments that defined generations and laid the foundation for modern wrestling as we know it today.